It's time for happy hour with the Hombre. Hello and welcome to this episode of Happy Hour with the Hombre. So excited. We have a great guest today. We're going to be talking about agave spirits, and also for those of you who watch the channel, you know, I started doing some reviews called Mezcal Monday, where we're featuring more mezcals. And we're going to be starting to do that starting now. So on Monday, you'll see a new review for a new mezcal that I'll review and tell you guys about. Also with the agave, with the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective, we're actually going to be journeying into doing agave buys versus just doing tequila. So it is going to be exciting. It's going to be very informative. And of course, as somebody said, agave is such a beautiful taste. Thank you from Six Side Worldwide. It is true. Agave is a wonderful taste. So here's the way things are going to work today. We're going to start out where I'm going to interview our guest, and for the first half. The second half, we'll go through your guys' comments and questions. If you have a question that you want to ask, put a capital Q in front of it so I can identify it easier. But we'll go through and address questions, and we'll address comments. We'll have a good time. We'll learn a lot as well. If you want to support the channel with your question and comments, feel free to click the $ below the chat. And when you do that, you can enter an amount that you'd like to donate to help out and support the channel. And then your comment or question will get priority as well. It'll stay longer in the YouTube chat so people can actually see it longer. All right. So there we go. Hope you guys are drinking some Mezcal Vago with you here today, sipping some. I've got the elote with me, which I'm sipping right now. Very tasty. I know a lot of you have tried the elote before. It's a great mezcal. All right, let's not waste any more time though. Let's bring our guest on. Please welcome to the screen the co-founder and co-owner of Mezcal Vago. It's Dylan Sloan. Welcome, Dylan.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us a little about Vago and tell us about your experiences with mezcal. And then also we're going to talk about this little bottle that you sent me, which is the sample bottle for our special buy that we're looking to do. Oh, you've got one too. Great. So we'll do a live tasting of this.
Yeah, mysterious bottles in the mail. It's always good.
My wife's like, that's a little bottle. I said, well, it's just a sample. All right, to start things off though, excuse me. Can you tell us a little bit about how Vago started and your experience with mezcal, like when you first tasted it and what your journey has been like?
Yeah, sure. It's been an interesting, awesome journey. I started the Mezcal Vago with a good friend of mine. His name's Judah Cooper. We both were living in Southwest Colorado, kind of being ski bums, working the seasons and traveling in the off seasons. And actually, ironically, since you asked, the first time we went to Mexico together, we knew each other, but not that well. We went to Mexico City and took a bus to Oaxaca. We got pretty rip-roaring drunk on mezcal, kind of walking the streets of Oaxaca. Then we took the bus down to the beach for a couple weeks, and actually neither of us returned for 10, 15 years. We were both like in our early 20s at that point. But then later on, as time went on, we both got into traveling. We both really enjoyed Mexico. We both got into surfing. Judah got really into surfing and decided to basically sell his house and move to Mexico indefinitely. And he found this little surf break on the coast of Oaxaca where he was hanging out, and he got an ear infection, and he went into the rural medical clinic and met this woman named Valentina, who he fell in love with and is now his wife, and they have a beautiful family. And but Valentina, as it turns out, grew up in the hills of Oaxaca, about 3 hours in a remote part of Oaxaca. And her family's been making mezcal for generations. So we just kind of happened upon this direct connection with these authentic mezcaleros. They had never put their mezcal in a bottle with a label on it. They'd never sold it commercially. It was sold and traded around the community, and people would come buy it in bulk, and it probably ended up down in Oaxaca City or down on the coast, who knows, but it was never officially a brand by any means. Judah was trying to figure out how to stay in Mexico, and called me. I came down, and we bought some computers and brought internet to this little community, and ended up selling beers and mezcal because Judah had come back from Valentina's meeting her family with 5 gallons of mezcal and his gasoline can. And next thing you know, we were, mostly him, but he was selling it on the beach, and the travelers were loving it because they were feeling like they were getting a true taste of Mexico, and the Mexican tourists were loving it because they said it was awesome juice, and we thought it was awesome juice, and we got inspired to start a brand.
Awesome. So Aquilino was Valentina's father, right?
Correct.
So what was the first mezcal that Vago offered commercially?
Well, we started with a few. It's funny, when we thought of the business and we were sort of pitching it around and doing our research and trying to figure out, we always thought, or I thought originally, that we would just have Aquilino's Espadín, that we would just have one mezcal. But as soon as you get into mezcal, and all of a sudden he was pulling bottles out from different plants, and one that he had infused with corn. And we went to Oaxaca City and learned all about the category by going to, Mezcalateca and tasting mezcals from all around the state. We quickly realized that it's impossible to have one mezcal. So we had Aquilino's Espadín. We had the Elote, which you mentioned, which is an Espadín infused with toasted corn.
I love it.
That's our most popular mezcal. We had a Mexicano from Aquilino, and then we had a Ensemble en Barro from Tío Rey and a Tobala en Barro from Tío Rey. So that's a different producer. So we had 2 producers that had kind of opposite styles, and we had 2 or 3 from each guy. So we launched with about 5 mezcals.
Okay. And I know you've expanded, right? How many mezcaleros do you currently use?
We now work with 4 different guys. Yeah, so we work with a cousin of the Garcia Lopez family, Joel Barriga. And then we work with Amigdio Harkin in Miawatlan. And we have a different colored label for each of our producers. So you'll notice, if you see us in liquor stores or bars, a bunch of different colors. So we give each of our guy a different color to distinguish. There's a lot of nuances that go into what a mezcal tastes like. But the hand of the maker is huge, in the terroir, where it is. So we decided to delineate, instead of delineate by Espadín and then, wild agaves and then ensembles, or, different ways you could structure it. We decided to delineate, really, they're very personal. We really like to empower the mezcaleros as people and their styles and their communities. And so that's how we delineate. So it's a different color for each guy, basically.
So how receptive have they been to you guys marketing their mezcal for them, like in the U.S. and stuff?
I'd say they're receptive. Yeah, it's a dream come true, man. I mean, it's Aquilino. He's a 5th gener. He was, unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for your loss on that one.
Yeah, we'll honor him today. But he, he's 5th generation, and before the mezcal boom, these people were not highly respected. They weren't treated as artists. They're all from campesino communities, very, very poor communities, very rural, very remote. These are the people that they didn't get a lot of respect in the world. So to empower them and just to bring a lot of, work and money into the community, it feels really good. But also it's been really fun to over the last 8 years to bring bartenders and restaurateurs and sommeliers and up to these communities to meet them and have people sort of praise it as art and, a fine liqueur of the world, and swirl their glasses around and ask detailed questions. That was really important and is to all the mezcaleros.
Well, for a long time, mezcal has always been considered the lower quality spirit compared to like tequila for a while, and now it's kind of changed.
100%. So they weren't. I mean, they were respected within their families and their communities, but once they even got to Oaxaca City, it was like they were just campesinos. They were just farmers, and so to have Aquilino explain his grandfather's recipes to some like Michelin star restaurateur, and us telling them that 1 ounce of his mezcal costs like $25 in downtown Manhattan. That was really that's powerful. And because of that growing relationship and changing dynamic, they're more inspired to make the best juice they can. And they know it, back before the boom, it was kind of like, everyone thinks of it as gut rot anyway. So, I mean, of course they had self-respect and they did the best they could, but now knowing that there's this critical eye and that people are really paying attention and comparing their mezcals to other mezcals, or comparing their mezcals to the best tequilas, or comparing their mezcals to the best grappas and cognacs, and what they're now even more motivated and have in the last 8 years to raise their game even higher, because they realize that we're the caliber of the stage they're on.
Very good. So here's a good question for you. I know there's some people that are tequila drinkers that may be wondering, okay, if I was to go out and to buy a Vago mezcal, what one would you recommend that would be a good entry level mezcal for somebody coming from tequila that doesn't have experience drinking mezcal?
Well, first of all, I would recommend espadín. Espadín is a kind of agave plant. So tequila is made exclusively from blue Weber agave, as your listeners probably know. Mezcal is made from any kind of agave plant, and there are many different kinds that have different characteristics. That said, the most common agave type made to use mezcal is called espadín. It's the easiest to grow. It has the highest sugar content. It gets the highest yields. It's also the closest genetically to blue Weber agave.
Right, it's a cousin to blue Weber.
Yeah, it's a cousin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not that far off. In fact, once it's harvested and all the leaves are cut off and all you're left is with the piña, it's pretty hard to even distinguish the two. So that would be a good start. Of course, they should start with Vago. That goes without saying. I normally recommend elote for people's first mezcal. I call it a gateway mezcal. But I mostly say that because I assume people are coming from, if I'm talking to an American, I'm assuming that they maybe drank whiskey, maybe they like bourbon or scotch, and they want to try an agave distillate. I recommend elote. Elote is distilled with corn. So corn is added to the distillate. After it's been distilled, no alcohol from corn turns into alcohol. Still a 100% agave distillate. It's then distilled again. So most of the sweetness and the color and the corn flavor actually drops out. And what's left is a really, really subtle corn infusion. It makes it a touch sweeter. It has a really subtle Mesoamerican corn essence essentially to it. And it doesn't cost a lot more because corn's not an expensive ingredient. So I usually recommend that, especially for a whiskey drinker, because the whiskey is a sweeter distillate, and they might be used to drinking something with some corn flavor. But for a tequila drinker, if you're already really into Blanco tequilas, you could just go right to our espadín. And I would almost recommend our espadín Jarquín, which has the blue label from Amigdio. I love all our Espadines, but this one has won a series of awards lately. And it's just a fantastic Espadine. It's going to have a little bit more texture and viscosity and probably richness than like a high quality Blanco. You're going to get a little bit of smoke. I don't taste much smoke, but all traditionally made mezcals are going to have a little bit of a smoke essence because that agave is cooked underground in an earthen pit as opposed to baked or steamed or diffused. So yeah.
And all of yours are artisanal, right?
Yeah, so three of them, we work with 4 different producers. 3 of them are classified as artisanal. Mezcal, the CRM, the board that certifies all the mezcal, basically has different categories of different types of mezcal. There's artisanal mezcal. And then one of ours producers, TRA and Sola de Vega, that does hand mashed and clay pot distillation, is considered ancestral mezcal.
Well, hey, is there any new things coming from Vago that we can kind of tell people about as like a exclusive announcement here on the Tequila Hombre?
Well, funny you should ask.
Nice.
No, I mean, so basically, like, it's been really funny. I kind of want to give a little background if we have a minute. Like, mezcal is so artisanal that it's sort of different in our approach because of the family connection and what we found so endearing about mezcal is, so we source from family farms. We love rare small batch stuff. We love kind of the exotic, and we embrace the inconsistencies. We're not trying to have a super consistent product that's super scalable. I mean, sure, our elote and our espadines, we try and make a bunch of, but they vary batch from batch too. And that's what's really cool about it. And then you get into, well, what happens when a mezcalero has, some plants behind his batch, a few tepastates and a couple of cliches, and he wants to make a batch with rare agave. And that he comes up with some sort of blend based on what's available, and it's totally unique. I mean, and that's what makes mezcal so special, and that's a lot of our fans are such fans with those things that are never going to be repeated, right? Well, how do you sell that on sort of a commercial scale? A lot of times it gets a little lost in translation, and historically we were really kind of relied on knowledgeable bartenders and agave-focused restaurants and bars where mezcal kind of became the trendy, and a lot of people fell in love with the spirit, and a lot of bartenders all of a sudden were super knowledgeable and enthusiastic about what they were doing, and they would sort of be passionate about passing on to their customer, like, oh, I have this cool blend of whatever, a little Mexicano, a little Quiche, or whatever it is. This is what these plants are like. But the pandemic hit, and it's gotten crazy. And we were doing this before the pandemic, but now with the pandemic, it's really cool for us to be able to offer these small batches directly to, whether it's one market, one restaurant group, one liquor store, or one online tequila club. So we've been emailing, and yeah, I'm really excited to announce that hopefully I sent you a sample of a batch of mezcal that is made by Amigdio Jarquin. It's a Quiche Espadine Tepestate blend. And what we're talking about doing is having you guys buy the entire batch. And then that way it's basically completely exclusive to you guys. And then you can spread the love to all your customers. It's really cool. It's like a win-win for everyone. We get to encourage our mezcaleros to keep being creative and don't monetize and don't dumb down the art, right? This is what you've always been doing historically, is been making these cool blends And just because, a big liquor store chain might not want to create a new SKU every time something comes up, or, it might be laborious to train new reps on the new blend, but here's a way to sort of go straight to the consumer. You guys get something completely unique that will never be recreated. And then we go back to Amigio and be like, yeah, we sold that batch. Boom, it's going there. Keep the creative juices going. Let us know what you come up with next. We'll find the appropriate customer that resonates with that batch, the right size, the right flavor profile for what they're looking for. And it just kind of keeps the wheels turning when we're all, It worked during the pandemic. It worked without the pandemic, but I think it's been reinvigorated because we're not all in the same room together.
Right. Well, this is a good transition then into the tasting portion. And so, I kind of did an interesting, we've got a lot of people that are interested in this, which is good because, we're trying to transition now from being primarily aged tequilas. And we just did our first Blanco tequila purchase where we sold over 100 cases of a Blanco, high proof Blanco tequila. So now, I've changed the name of it used to be the Tequila Barrel Collective. We changed it to the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective because we actually want to start getting into special limited batches of Mezcal and Sotol and Raicilla and other agaves. So this is coming at a great opportunity. And I know I sent a message to Francisco originally and said, hey, we're interested in doing something like this. And he said, it's probably going to be a while and stuff. And then it really surprised me how quickly he turned around and said, hey, we got something for you. But what I want to do is, I do want to let people know that this is, we really strive to pick up stuff that you can't walk into any liquor store and buy, and we're shipping this across the United States. So it's not limited to an area. Now, I did get into one of your, there was the Picado that was only Texas.
The Picado, yeah.
Yeah, and that was really good. And I still have, a lot, I've been savoring the bottle. So this one's going to be exclusively for the collective, correct? This has not been sold before. Nobody has had the opportunity to get this before. It's something completely exclusive and original. Yeah,
so basically, I have the notes on this. We kind of geek out on the details, right? So we weigh every piña, we mark down how long it ferments, how long it distilled, when it was distilled, what year, what month, obviously who's making it. So this is a small batch of an.
It's 250 liters, right?
254 liters of an ensemble made by Migdio, Harkin, and Miawalan. Now we do sell a SKU called Ensemble Harkin. In his different batches will circle through those liquor stores or bars and restaurants. And I always encourage people to drink those, side by side to learn about the different blends. So what we're doing is it's a complete unique batch. The 254 liters goes exclusively to you guys and won't be available anywhere else, which is really cool. And that's why, I've had people be like, oh yeah, we want to do that, but we want 20 cases or something. And I'm like, well, the batch is 30 cases, or the batch is 18 cases or whatever. The whole point is you buy the whole batch. That's the whole point. If you buy half,
I think it comes out to about 50. I figured 55 cases.
Yeah, 55 cases, maybe 54, depending on how much I fall in love with it. We got to
keep for yourself.
We got to keep the library stocked. But yeah, so you're getting your own batch, which is really cool. People buy their own barrels and stuff, but this is really honestly more unique than that. If there's anything uncool about that, but because the ratio will never be. It's not a recipe. It's what was available at that time. So what we're talking about is 254 liters. It's 51% alcohol, and it's 63% agave quiche, which is part of the Karwinski family, and we can go into the stuff if you want. Espadín 32%, and then 5% Tepestate. And Emilio comes up with these blends based on what's right, but also based on what he thinks will be a well-balanced, beautiful mezcal. All three of those agaves are, thrive in that area. They're typical of that region. The Tepestate is wild harvested. The Clich is local, and the Espadín is cultivated on his land.
Awesome. Well, I just want to let you know you will get a sustainability question, no doubt, coming up here in the future. So
sure,
just be prepared to answer that. But let's go ahead and open up our sample bottles here, and let's do a tasting of this.
Yeah,
amazing mezcal, and see what we got here. I'm excited to offer it to the group. I've just recently moved from tequila into mezcal, and I've got quite a bit of a mezcal collection over here. I had to buy a whole new case for my mezcals, and of course I do have Vagos in there, but it's kind of a rabbit hole, isn't it? Once you start getting into all the different mezcals that the different agaves that you can buy, and whether it's Soto or Raicilla, and then into mezcal, it's all this different agave and different stuff. It's just it can go crazy, and it can cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, it's an amazing world that seems endless. It's very layered. There's so much to discuss. There's the agave types. There's the terroir. There's the yeast, which I don't know how much you guys have talked about, is a huge factor. All legitimate artisanal mezcals are fermented with the ambient yeast that's in the air.
Wild yeast, yeah.
No added yeast. Which is very different. Most tequila is made with champagne yeast. That's a huge factor. And then the hand of the maker. I mean, these are very personal products. Each family has a different technique. But all the guys we work with are at least fourth generation mezcaleros, and knowledge is being passed on from generation to generation. What their mezcal tastes like might be different from just the guy across the street or the river. So I could tell you a little bit about this style. Emilio, if anyone's had Vago.
I'm going to start nosing this, okay? So I got it sitting in the glass. I don't want to let it sit too long.
Yeah, no, smell it, first of all.
Yeah.
To me, it's rich and complex.
Just a hint of smoke. There's not a whole lot of smoke to it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the whole smoky tequila thing, I mean, if you're really not used to drinking mezcal, the first couple times you drink it, that smoke comes through. And also, I feel like if you put mezcal in a cocktail, a lot of times you lose so much of the flavor, but the smoke's the one thing that kind of stands out.
Yeah, the dominant flavor.
So people are like, oh, it's a smoky margarita. It's like, okay, it kind of is, but drink it straight. There's a lot more going on than smoke. I basically don't even taste smoke anymore, but it's there. And a lot of your fans, I'm sure, if they're used to tequilas, will taste it. But this is, it's from a region called Michoacán, which is due south of Oaxaca City. It's at about 5,000 feet. It's an area that's famous for mezcal. It's the second biggest town in Oaxaca, the state. Emilio lives kind of in the country on the outside of it, but still in the Michoacán Valley. It's a broad valley. The mezcals tend to be rich, have a lot of minerality. There's a lot of minerality in the water he uses. He uses well water. The predominant winds come over from the Pacific Ocean. And the mezcals in that region tend to have a lot of salinity. They pair really well with seafood.
It's got a nice little fruity nose, sweet fruity nose to it.
Mm-hmm.
I am picking up the minerality from it, definitely. And you're correct. I mean, when I first transitioned from tequila into mezcal, the smoke was the thing that really kind of drew me originally, or that kind of made it so it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be a mezcal fan. But I tell people that, look, try different ones. And then what happened for me is that the smoke actually now, like you said, goes into the background. And so it's like you can detect a little bit of it, but it's mostly all the really nice agave flavors and the really nice flavors from the fermentation and the terroir and stuff that are showing more than the smoke. The smoke's kind of in the background. It's kind of like you barely even notice it anymore after you get accustomed to it. So I do agree with you on that as far as somebody that came from tequila.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
But yeah, it definitely has a fruity nose. I'm picking up lots of like a sweet fruitiness to it, which is nice. And it does have a minerality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people sometimes use the words like tahini or blue cheese, a little sourness sometimes to describe Emigio's style. I like to say rich. They're hearty. You know, there's a viscosity there. There's a weight on the tongue. There's a complexity here. It's really interesting. But then it's also tropical, like you're saying. It's got some fruitiness to it.
Yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit about the agave types. I've mostly just been describing his general style so far. So the dominant agave type is Quiche. That's part of the Karwinski family. And they're unusual looking agave plants. They're tall and slender. It almost looks like a yucca tree. And I encourage anyone, if they want to know more about our mezcals, they can go to our blog, mezcal.com, MASMEZCAL.com, or just our website, mezcalvago.com. But so they're tall and slender, and they really thrive in this area. And they have lower sugar yields. When you cut all the leaves off, it almost looks like a tree trunk. Whereas the espadine or whoever agave is that big bulbous keg of agave sugar, right? Well, the Quiches are these trunks, and they tend to be drier and a little woodier. If you think about like the flesh ratio to the outer skin, there's just less flesh in there and more skin. They're a little tougher. So they tend to be dry. But then that really balances out with the Migdio style. It has all that minerality and sort of richness to it. So it's a great balance there. And then there's espadine, 32% espadine. Espadine kind of the backbone. That's what most mezcal is made from, as we mentioned. That's going to add a touch more sugar that helps the fermentation. So by having that extra sugar in the fermentation vat, we get a more rapid fermentation.
So this is farmed espadine, right? This is a cultivated?
This is cultivated espadine. Yeah, it's from Chamizal, the name of his predio there. That's something he owns.
And the quiche and the tespatate are wild, or?
The quiche, I'd have to double check, but the quiche probably is cultivated. They cultivate a lot of quiche in that region. They plant it on the property lines, and it grows straight up, and it kind of creates a fence because it grows exactly straight and tall. So he does cultivate a lot of quiche. It's sometimes wild harvested, but not really like out very far. It's like right in that region. Quiche just grows like weeds in that specific. His little neighborhood is called El Nanche. That's sort of his town within the Miahuatlan region. And the quiche is pretty prolific there. And then the tepestate is wild harvested from that region, from more of the hills further south. And tepestate is a crazy agave type. It's one of the more distinct. It can take up to 25 years to mature. It has this really erratic leaf structure that makes it easy to identify. They're huge, huge plants. And the flavors that come from that are very interesting and very unique. It's funny, it's such a harsh, brutal, thorny, big 20-year-old looking plant, but the flavors are really soft and feminine. It's very floral. It's kind of like rose petals on your tongue, very aromatic. Like almost, if it's to a flaw, it's almost perfumey when not done correctly. So it's a great one to add. Sometimes 100% tepestate is amazing, but to me, small amounts of tepestates in ensembles like this are really, really interesting because it's kind of like, I don't know, cooking with ginger or something. Like you just put a little in there and it changes.
Changes the whole flavor profile.
It's not a lot of tepestate, but you don't need a lot.
Right.
This is my point. And
well, let's not waste any more time. Salud, right?
Yeah, salud.
Oh wow, that's good.
I'm a little biased, but I love it.
Oh no, this is fantastic. I'm kind of getting a little bit of a. That's weird.
Yeah, go shoot. I get a little bit of funky bananas, like overripe bananas. I get the dry.
Yeah, it definitely has a really ripe banana kind of flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of transitions into like it's weird, like a bubble gum flavor.
I've heard people say that for amigos mezcals before.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you smell it, the aroma, I almost I get a little of the bubblegum thing.
Yeah,
that's that fruitiness you're talking about. It's almost like, I don't want to say it because it sounds unappetizing, but it's almost like an artificial fruity smell. Like the bubble,
I pick up more fruit on the nose than I am on the flavor profile. Definitely. It has that sweet fruitiness, tropical fruitness, like you said, on the nose, but on the flavor, it's more, you really get the overripe banana, the really sweet banana flavor, and then it kind of transitions into like a bubblegum type flavor.
Yeah, I'm getting the bubblegum on the nose. Actually, I hear exactly what you're saying. I picture like one of those kind of cheap, square pink
bazooka bubblegum. Yeah, exactly. I'm old, so I go back to the days where you used to have bubblegum squares in your baseball cards and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's kind of gum though. It's not like chicles. It's not like spearmint. We're talking about the like baseball card. I'm clearly much younger than you, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Very light smoke, very enjoyable. Wow, this is really good.
So it was made in April of 2020. So
I'm sad you only sent me a small bottle.
I know. Gotta take you one more. And it's sitting in glass garrafones right now. So we have these 25-liter glass containers that we store all our good stuff. We don't have to store in plastic. The majority of mezcal, unfortunately, in the world is stored in plastic. So it's been resting in glass for 9 months now. That's really nice too. That rounds out the flavors, really kind of settles any sharpness.
Lets it mellow a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at? Like, what would be the suggested retail price on a bottle like this?
So what we do is we don't mark up and we don't cut deals, basically. So like we don't, even though you guys are buying 50 cases or would, it's kind of, we just keep it the same as any of our high-end mezcals from Emigdio, but we also don't say, oh, well, it's, super rare and it'll never be repeated, so I'm going to charge you some astronomical price. So our pricing, again, I'm biased, but Mezcal Vago is, if anything, underpriced in the market. So we feel like it's very reasonable pricing. So something like this on a liquor store shelf would be about $90.
Okay. I think very reasonable for the flavor profile. Mm-hmm. And definitely for the ABV and stuff that it offers, and the fact that it's limited batch. I mean, there's limited batches out there that can cost you well into $150, $200. So I think that's
yeah. I mean, mezcal is through the limit. I mean, these plants take, Espadín takes 6 to 10 years to mature. Clich takes at least 10. Tepestate can take up to 25 years to mature. The amount of labor and everything that goes into it. Astronomical. And then we're still using a distributor and stuff, so it's
unfortunately here in the US we do have our 3-tier system and everybody has to take a bite of the apple.
Exactly. Which it is what it is,
which affects the price. So it's like well, what can you do? So I know I'll be dealing with the distributor and our retail partner on this as well, and trying to beg them
someone that can ship to your fan base.
What's that?
Oh, you just mentioned it was going all over, so hopefully whatever retailer you work with can ship.
Yeah, nationwide. So this puppy can go all over the country. So I always make sure when I partner with a retailer that, you know, with the Picado, I think it was Picado.
Yeah, Picado.
Yeah, it was only Texas. And so it's like I had to beg friends in Texas, hey, run to a liquor store and see if you can score me some of this because it's only available in Texas. Well, not this batch.
I know
we're going to send it all over the country. All right.
It's been pretty fun to be like, okay, this one goes to California, this one goes to Texas, this will go to New York, and then it creates a buzz and people are trading bottles. It's pretty fun.
Well, people get mad because they're like, well, I'm not in Texas and I can't get any of it. I mean, people were screaming about the BM Picado. So it's like, all right, so we're going to start taking some questions now and going over some of the comments. Remember, if you click the $sign below the chat, you guys can purchase a super chat, which helps support the channel and everything that I do here with the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective, as well as with this, because I do not charge anything for membership. I do not increase the prices. I just set these things up so everybody can get some really great stuff at a great price. So, but looking at hands down, well, we're not going to do that one. How many liters is the batch? So we answered that. It's going to be around 254 liters. And so we're looking at about 55 cases we have to sell. Whether it's going to be available on a per bottle sale or not, I haven't yet decided yet, because it's like, really, you just want to buy one bottle of this and it's going to be gone forever and you won't have any more? You got to at least put like an extra bottle on the shelf. Am I right, Dylan?
That's what I would recommend doing.
All right. So we got any idea on the price per bottle? Yeah, we're looking estimated about 90. I'll work with the retailer and see what we can do on getting
90's based on your typical markup. If you're moving 50 cases through a store, maybe they'll cut you guys a deal, but that's beyond my reach.
Yeah, I'll work on the pricing and see if we can get us a good deal and set us up. Normally the retail partners, because we're moving 55 cases through them, we're willing to work with us on their margin. So that's something that I'll work on. Yes, it does. It actually is really good. So how do you join? You go to tequilabarrelcollective.com and you just sign up. It's free. We don't charge anything for membership. It's that easy. Just go to tequilabarrelcollective.com and just join. And what it does is it puts your name on our email list. I send out notifications on how things are going, what's going on. And then I'll ask for commitments, and then we'll do a pre-order on this, because our retailer is going to make sure that all 55 cases are paid for on this. So they're not sitting on extra cases of mezcal that they're like, okay, what do I do with this? So we always try to work on doing pre-orders so everything's sold for the retailer, so they're not stuck with extra liability on the purchase. I love Mezcal Vago. I live in Oaxaca, Mexico, and all my family likes Mexico. There you go. Even Oaxaca's sending you love.
Viva Oaxaca.
Who is the most senior mezcalero at Vago in terms of years of brewing now that Aguilino Garcia Lopez is no longer with us?
That would be Tio Ray. Obviously, years of distilling. So we work with. They're separate family farms, so it's not like it's not delineated like within the farm. So Aquilino's sons are taking over for him, Mateo and Temo, but Emigdio's younger. Emigdio's in his late 40s. Tio Ray, I would call, would be the new patriarch, I guess, or whatever they want to, however you want to describe it. He's in his late 50s. Joel Barriga is actually older too, but he works with his son so much. I consider them a team. So I'm going to give props to Tio Ray and Solo de Vega.
Well, and just so people know, Aguilino's sons are taking over and still producing his mezcal.
100%.
So
they've been working alongside Aquilino for years. Mateo's been doing it since the day we started, and Temo's been back for 4 years, I think now. They've been hands-on, and his brother is hands-on and has been for years. He was really the manager and the patriarch and the boss, but he didn't make every drop by himself. And so now, yeah, they're psyched, they're honored, they're up for the task, and they're going to honor his tradition and are coming out of the gates firing. They've been doing a phenomenal job making beautiful batches of elote. We just released the first Mexicano from them, so it's fun stuff.
We do appreciate them continuing on the tradition of Agualino, and I sent my sympathy in regards to Judah when I found out about the
yes, yeah, we appreciate that.
Passing.
We appreciate it.
So when can we expect this to be available? We're looking at about probably 2 months from when I say go, right?
Yeah, exactly. We bottle it, we label it, we ship it. It takes about 3 weeks. Then it takes another 2 to 3 weeks to get to the distributor. So then we're at 4 to 6. Yeah, I think it's 2 months is the safe side to when it'll be available at your retailer.
So Andrew, here's the deal. We need to get more and more people in so we can sell all 55 cases of this. So tell your friends, tell your other agave lovers to come join the collective and to let me know. If you send an email to tequilabarrelcollective.com or tequilabarrelcollective@gmail.com and let me know that you're interested in the Vago buy, we can get this thing moving as quick as possible. But I need to make sure that with our retail partner that we're going to be moving all of this so they're not sitting on 20 cases of it saying, WTF, dude, what's going on? Because we can't have that.
It takes away, I mean, honestly, they would know just what to do with it. They would sell it, but then it kind of takes away from the exclusive thing, right? So
right.
The cool part is you guys have collective power.
And so that's what we're trying to do, is trying to build up more agave lovers, not just tequila lovers. If it was 55 cases of tequila, I could move it like that. We sold 110 cases of G4 108 proof easily.
Wow.
So,
But
we're moving into mezcal, people. So bring your mezcal and agave loving friends in. So I want to be able to say if Vago has featured batches that they want to do, and they come to me and they say, "Yo, Hombre, we've got this batch of really special stuff. I want to know if you guys want it." I want to be able to say yes and know that we can move 55 cases of it. Now, do I make any money on any of this? I make zero money right now. Zero, nothing, nada. I do this for the passion, and I do this to put really, really good stuff in your guys' hands, so you don't have to fly to Texas to buy something, or fly to Colorado if it's a special batch, or try to talk a friend into buying it for you who puts a $40 or $50 markup on it just so that they can make some cash. No, I'm trying to put some special stuff in your guys' hands. So join the collective. Let me know. Send it to tequilabarrelcollective@gmail.com and let me know that you're interested in getting in on the Vago. Bye. Do you guys ever partner with other distillers? Does this happen in the mezcal world? No, you just have your own, right? I mean,
really, yeah. I mean, our whole thing is we source off the family farms we work with. We've cultivated relationships with 4 different families, and the whole idea is kind of just bringing their art up here unadulterated in its true form, and just kind of telling you what's in the bottle. We haven't worked with other distilleries or done even collaborations between the mezcaleros. We're in a kind of honoring tradition a little bit more than that. Not that there's anything wrong with cool collaborations, but no, it's not really something we do.
All right, another question we have is this batch artisanal or ancestral? I think this is artisanal, right?
Yeah, this would be considered artisanal. It's roasted in a fire pit. It's fermented with the ambient yeast. It's ground with a stone dahona. If it was ancestral, it would need to be hand mashed and distilled in clay, which is not something that Emigio's family does. So that is something that our producer Tia Ray and Sola de Vega, any Vago that has a red label, would be considered ancestral. And all our other mezcals are considered artisanal, distilled in copper.
Yes. So Mezcal Vago was featured on an agave documentary on Amazon Was there a noticeable impact on Vago from Marcus Ochoa? Thank you for the question, Marcus.
Yeah, that's a good question. Really cool documentary. I would highly encourage people to watch it. It's called Agave, Taste of the Nation. It features Carlos Camarena and talking about tequila and a couple mezcaleros. It had a huge impact on us. It had a huge impact on Aquilino, like watching him see himself on the big screen and knowing he was getting publicity in the US and flying up for the debut and, getting a standing ovation. And it had a lot of emotional and psychological benefits. We didn't see like a monster jump into sales that I noticed. That it's really hard to track. We've been on an upward tick since we started, which we're proud of. But I didn't see a huge dip in sales. But it was a wonderful film and had a wonderful impact on the whole Vago family. It was on a lot of, I think Delta bought it or something. It was on a lot of airlines, and I would get random emails and texts from like family and old friends. Like, I saw the agave thing on the, when I was flying to New York or whatever it was. And
it doesn't hurt that it said Mezcal Vago on the wall, right? .com.
Oh yeah. It was great. It was fantastic, but did it increase sales by 30% or something? Not that we noticed, but it didn't matter. It was awesome.
As long as it gets name recognition, that's all you can really hope for.
Help build the brand. Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, another question we have for you. Are you working on any mezcaleros outside of Oaxaca, like Durango or other states?
We're not actually. We've toyed around with that a bunch, and there's a lot of great juice coming out of other states like Guerrero and Durango and all over. And but no, we kind of work with we work with what we know. We've said no to a lot of different mezcal producers, and we want to keep it focused. And this is Joaquin, you want to sell some mezcal, bud?
Yeah.
We're talking about a big deal. Anyway, excuse the distraction. But,
it's okay. We all have kids.
Yeah, so we want to keep it focused, and our office is in Oaxaca City, and just logistically, it's really hard to go. Judah and I spent a lot of years kind of driving around Oaxaca, like looking for the next unicorn and visiting, and it's time consuming, and it's wonderful. It's great. It's an adventure. But right now we don't want to dilute the message. We've got 4 amazing guys with 4 distinct styles, and we're focused on that for right now.
Well, and like, many people will tell you that anytime you pick up a bottle of Vago, you're getting a very solid, good quality mezcal, and I really enjoy your brand a lot, and it's one that I'll pick up the Imberia, the Ensemble, or I'll pick up the Elote. I've got like 4 bottles of the Elote that I keep that I really enjoy from Agolino, and it's just I really do enjoy the brand.
Thank you.
All right, so we got another question for you. I really enjoy Mezcal Vago. Tio Rey created 82% Espadín, 18 Mexicano. How many different ensembles has Vago created so far?
Wow.
Yeah, so you got to count them, right?
Great question.
So far for the exclusive ones, though, it's been Texas and Colorado that I've seen. Has there been other ones?
Oh, yeah, we've done a couple other smaller exclusive ones. We don't always call them ensembles.
Daddy's being serious now, son, okay?
They, sometimes like if we have a Barril Tobola, we might get our own label that says Barril Tobola. Instead of calling it an ensemble, because it's just something so special, we feel like it deserves its own label. We've done small ensemble batches for like a specific restaurant. Like we did something for the pastry war once in Houston and Palenque in Denver. So we've done more than a couple. But in terms of how many ensembles we've done, God, I actually don't have the number in front of me, but I would guess from TRA we've done probably 60 to 70 different blends.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really cool because they're each one-offs. So, I mean, it's just incredible.
Any goals on trying to tackle a jabalí?
You know, we're always telling these guys, we had a little jabalí in one TRA's blends. He used like 6%. The Mescaleros, I'll say it's impossible, really hard to work with. So it all foams too much.
It foams, right? Yeah, it's like laundry detergent foaming all over the place.
Yeah. And so whenever people say they have 100% jabalí, I sometimes actually wonder. I think it's totally normal to mix espadín with jabalí because then you'll get a better ferment and it's easier to work with. And there's great mezcals that are that. But yeah, no, we haven't done 100% jabalí.
Is that on the wish list or? Yeah.
I'm always elbowing TRA. I've seen it, just on the side of his yard. Not a lot, but a few of them lying around. And but we only hint. We don't dictate. We like to treat these guys like artists, and we tell them what we love and what people want and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they're going to make what they're going to make, and kind of more power to them for that.
All right, we got another question for you from William Ekman. He says, do you have more customers in Mexico or the USA? And what's the growth in the U.S. market like for Mezcal Vago?
By far, we have... Hey, Mark, can you just...
What are you doing?
Dad's working. How old is he?
He's 7.
7, nice.
7.
I have a 13-year-old little girl, so she knows not to bother me, though.
Val, can you help me out?
Mom!
By far more in the USA. So we started off, we didn't even sell in Mexico. The majority of our market's the United States, and it's growing steadily, and that's where the boom is. It's been really fun. We've recently transitioned into selling more in Mexico. And we were always a little bit resistant. We felt like maybe it wasn't our place to do that, and that there was some brands that only operated nationally in Mexico, and kind of more power to them, and we didn't want to step on any toes. But then we got more and more places really asking for us, so we would just siphon off a few liters for restaurants in Oaxaca City for friends. And the restaurant scene has really blown up in Oaxaca, and that has really inspired us to focus more on Mexican labels, and we work with a bunch of different restaurants there. We're now selling in like Tulum and Guadalajara and Mexico City, and it's been so cool to watch the mezcal boom there later.
No,
and then and so but it's still like almost a passion project in Mexico. It's almost like a marketing thing where we are really proud to have our bottles on the local shelves, and it's inspiring. We want to be part of that scene because they're such connoisseurs there, obviously, and are incorporating it into food and tasting menus. I mean, the culinary scene in Oaxaca is just blowing up, and we want to be part of that. But it's less about bottle sales than more about being a part of something that's exciting and cutting edge and evolving.
That's awesome. So what states are you guys currently distributed in the United States? And I know you're in California. What other states are you guys located in?
We're in about 32 states currently.
Are you in Chicago?
I don't know.
Are you in Illinois?
We're definitely in Chicago. California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado obviously is a big market for us. Texas is a big market. Illinois is a big market. Florida, we're in Georgia and the Carolinas. Pennsylvania's huge. We're not in we're not in Alabama. We're not in Arkansas. We're not in some states that are just logistically difficult, but we're growing. We want to be in all 50 eventually.
Awesome.
We have a bigger distribution network than we used to, so it's changing.
What's your son's name?
Joaquin.
Joaquin. Well, so nice for you to join us tonight, Joaquin.
Well, I guess we're just going to embrace it. I can't.
Hey, I love kids. I've got a 13-year-old little girl named Caitlin, and
cool.
I went through this same type of thing with her, and we embrace kids. We embrace mezcal, but not mezcal and kids, right?
No, don't do that. That's where we draw the line. But yeah, we're a family brand,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we've addressed all the questions and all the comments that we've had tonight. Hey, Dylan, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us tonight, and Joaquin, thank you for joining us as well, to share the story and the love of Vago Mezcal. I really do appreciate it. The only thing that makes me sad is that this one that we're doing is it's really good. I want more, so we're gonna do this I think, and I'm gonna buy a case. I'm in for a case, so because I just if it's gone, I want to at least have 3 or 4 bottles on my shelf that I can go visit with later. So there you go. If you guys are interested in getting into the Mezcal Vago, buy for the Tequila Barrel Collective, message me, send me an email at the Tequila Barrel Collective at gmail.com, or you can join the Tequila Barrel Collective at the Tequila Barrel Collective.com, and then get on our email list so you get notifications. Join our Facebook group if you're in Facebook. Let me know. We got some more comments. Thanks, Mark and Dylan. I appreciate the intro into Mezcal. I will look into it. Please do. Mezcal is just so phenomenal into the flavor profiles and stuff that it offers for you. It's a lot more complex than tequila is. And if you really enjoy tequila and what tequila has to offer, you will love Mezcal. But as long as you find the good ones, because there's a lot of bad ones out there.
Very important.
That you can find that will turn you off. Like, unfortunately, it happened to me originally. But I had a bunch of friends talk me down. They're like, no. Don't base what whether you like mezcal or not off of one thing that you tried that was cheap and found in a Bevmo or whatever. Instead, explore more. And I did explore more, and I found some ones that I really love. And fortunately, I've had some really good agave mentors that guided me towards stuff that was really good. We also thank you, Dylan. I look forward to this and many other bottles of Mezcal Vago. We all do. We love our Vago. So again, thank you, Dylan, for taking the time to spend with us. Really do appreciate it. We know you're a busy guy. And like I always say for all of you, everybody else, life is too short to drink bad mezcal. So drink the good stuff. Salud.
So thanks, Mark. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you again.